Welcome back to Leicester Fan TV, guys. This is the Fox's Corner after the Fulham result, and we've got Aston Villa next on Saturday in the Premier League. We'll go around this way. We'll start with Lox, who's joining us here in the studio. How are you, Lox?
Yeah, mate, glad to be here. Yeah, looking forward to talking about all the positivity.
All the positive, maybe a little bit more of the negativity today.
Yeah.
Interesting result against Fulham. I think a lot of fans would agree the main consensus of it was very lacklustre. The performance was not up to the tempo that it was against Spurs.
Yeah, I thought we'd start the Fulham game like we ended the Spurs game, going at them. But I mean, the first half, well, to be honest, from the start, it was kind of very similar to the first half against Spurs. Showing them respect, which I understand. We're not a good. Well, you know, we're not one of the top 6 or top 8 teams in the Premier League anymore, so we can't just play like we did back then. But I just think still we're lacking something. I'm not actually sure exactly what it is. I think when we're in like a solid back four, like low block, I think we actually do all right. Like against Spurs, well, I know they scored it from a header, but when it's kind of 11 versus 11, kind of them just trying to pelt us and put us under the cosh, I think we're actually okay. We're quite solid at the back, but it's the transition. As soon as we try and attack them on the transition, we just get punished every time, and that's the problem. I don't know how Cooper's going to fix it. Obviously, recruitment as well. We need a bit of that in the next week or so to kind of compete. And yeah, Cooper's press interview after the match saying that he thought we could have nicked it. I'm not sure.
I don't think the fans would agree with that.
No.
Cooper's obviously he's good at coming out and being honest after the match. Did he say he got it wrong again? Is he going to double down on the fact that Spurs was wrong in the first half, and yet that was pretty much the whole principle we went into Fulham? It felt very similar for the whole game, minus a few changes. I thought we were better when we brought Skip and Ayew on. And we were obviously had that bit more solidity. I think you can see the quality that Skip offers compared to Ndidi. Really, I know you said Ndidi's not. Ndidi's going to be better than Skip, and you think Skip doesn't get anywhere near the team. But I think for the 20 minutes he's shown in a team that was defending and a bit all over the place because the players were way out of position and in the wrong system, I guess. What do you make of Skip and Ayew's debut?
It's weird because when before the season started, I was like, I really want to see Ndidi back in that defensive role. But now you've seen how we want to play. Obviously, it's kind of similar to Enzo, but a lot less around the back. You can see that Ndidi's passing is just not up to the standard we need it now, which is weird because we passed a lot more last season. But because Ndidi was more in that attacking role, he didn't need to pass as much. Now he's in that defensive role, and we see how well Winks can do it. You can see how Ndidi doesn't do it. And when Skip and Mavididi and obviously Ayew came on, it did feel a lot more solid, it felt like we had something a bit more solid going forward.
I'm going to talk to you about Mavididi and Pereira in the same light. Why are they not starting? I think we would all agree that Pereira, especially after Justin's games, I'll talk to Jake about that one after I finish this one, but Pereira and Mavididi, surely they've got to be in the team for Villa. Surely.
From Fulham, yes, there's no doubt about it. You have to take Justin out of that team. Again, I don't think you could really fault him for the Spurs game, but the positioning for the Fulham game, which in my eyes as well, is mainly down to the tactical side of things for me. Not just, obviously, again, he was in the wrong for being out of position, but the way Justin was set up and how Christensen had to be more the winger side of things because Bobby Reed came inside, it felt like JJ had to be that third centre back in a way, and when he does push out, it leaves us open, and that's where, for me, it doesn't suit it, and that's where they would just someone like Pereira doesn't fit it as well, because Pereira isn't going to be good enough, in my opinion, as that third centre back. He's either more of a midfielder or out and out full back, and we don't use that.
I do think going into the season, I'm surprised that we are implementing a lot of these. Cover that position, like say Justin, he's rotating between right back, pushing forward, and then covering as a centre back field. I think we've got a decent defensive line where we don't need to be struggling to pick centre backs. I mean, Justin had a blunder against Fulham. He did not have a good game. Both goals,
more than a blunder.
Both of the goals, especially the second goal, you could seriously blame him for both of them going in. I mean, surely, he's got to be out of the team for Villa, and they've got to put Pereira, who was, one of our best players last season, captain for majority of last season, and he's just been benched for 2 games.
Justin, he didn't get as much game time last year as he probably wanted, and he's sort of been chucked in at the right back position this year. I think positionally he was at fault, especially for the second. I think for the first you could argue there were different factors, but I think he was still one of the players at fault. I would like to see Pereira come in, but I would actually like to see Pereira come in as more of an attacking player. I would like to see him, I think there's been talks of him maybe coming in as a bit more of a number 10 in the cam role, and I think he wouldn't do too bad there. I know Buonanotte is probably more of an all and out.
He was a bit quiet on Fulham, wasn't he?
But I think Ricardo Pereira, I'd like to see him in a bit more of a attacking role. I think he's better at attacking than he is defending. I think just positionally, our players need to get more solid in maybe training or something.
I think it's this zonal marking, which again is obviously implemented by the manager. Cooper's obviously chosen, we're going to do a bit more zonal marking. It seems to be the modern day of football. I can't stand it personally, because you saw Justin, who was in no man's land. He had a player running at him from the left side, he had a player on the right side, and do you commit to one player, do you commit to the other player? And he ended up committing to no players because he was just standing there.
I think it's the way we're set up in a way, because it's like I said, Ricardo can't be that third centre back, and if we were to do it the other way around where Christian stayed back and you had someone like Ricardo doing that attacking wise on the right, it might work better. But then people always say someone like Mabadini doesn't track back, and then you've got Bobby Reid, who apparently does, which I didn't see too much of it, but you could see he is a bit more defensive minded than Mabadini.
Well, the problem is as well, Christensen left the club because he didn't want to play left centre back. He wanted to play left back. He said that when he went to Bologna. Enzo asked him to play left, the Doyle and Justin role last year, and he said he didn't want to, so that's why he left. So it feels like we've tweaked the system so that he can play in his position, but it means Ricardo now can't play. And let's be honest, you'd probably want Ricardo playing over Christensen. So I don't know, the whole thing with Cooper, he's come in and he said he doesn't want to change much. I feel like if we've gone for Cooper, he may as well have just changed it, because now we're kind of trying to play this half-hearted Enzo ball, and we're still ending up with the same numbers of players in attack, because you've got rather than the 2 advanced states, you've got the 2 wingers, the number 10, and then Christensen as well. But obviously the way we're getting there is obviously different. I feel like he should have either probably just stuck with the same as Enzo, with Ricardo at right back coming into midfield and the 2 advanced states, and we know indeed he can do a job there. Or he should have just scrapped it all and just implemented his own thing. And now I just think we're in this weird kind of middle between, I don't know what it is.
I guess, like I say, moving on to Villa next game, would you like to see a different style of football? Do you think he's going to go the same starting lineup as Spurs and Fulham?
I think he's going to carry on with what he's done, because the games have been close, because it's only been 1-1, 2-1. I think he might stick with it. If things carry on and we're just not picking up wins, I don't think he's got a choice.
Well, Villa's definitely probably the toughest game out of 3 we've played. Spurs obviously a good team, Villa better team, finished 4th last year. Got a lot of depth. The likes of Sterling could be joining them soon, for all we know. So it's interesting going into that. We obviously had rumours today, Locks, about Wout Faes not happy with his position. He doesn't want to play in the position Cooper's chosen for him, and he wants to leave the club before the window ends, which, as we speak, is the end of this week. That's when the window shuts. Is anyone going to sign him? How much are we going to sell him for? Is it a good move, bad move by Leicester to sell probably the first centre-back on the team sheet?
If he had less than a year left, like if his contract was expiring, I think they'd probably just try and cash in. But what has he got, 2 more years, 3 more years? I think there's no chance anyone's paying at least, because we bought him for 15, we won't sell for less than that. So we won't be able to replace him. I know we're linked with a couple names, but I think there's no chance he leaves. And if he's crying about playing left centre back, I think it says more about him. It's not like Christensen, for example, where we're asking a centre back to play left back, or a left back to play centre back. We're asking a centre back to play centre back, but just on the left side. So I think it's stupid,
especially when he scored as well.
I think it's. I don't know. You don't know whether it's just fake news or if it is true. But if it is true, I think it says more about him, to be fair.
Yeah, it's a bit childish. I think the attitude from him. I think we've known that since we got relegated to the Championship, I think he had that same kind of mentality of I want to be sold, but
Yeah.
wages speak, don't they? He's on a lot of money, and who's going to want him? Because not to be harsh to him, he's not the best centre back. He's very hot-headed and can push up, and I think alongside Vestergaard, really, especially against Fulham, those two for the first goal especially, they both were out of position, not quick to get back, and obviously that's what left Justin exposed and didn't know where to mark his man. You're a big fan of Oakley. Do you think he comes into the team for Villa? Do you think he's going to make an appearance?
It's hard when you know how well Faze and Vestergaard have worked together in the past, and it's hard, like, as much as we know we like to see a defender going forward and be a bit more attacking minded, like say Vestergaard knows where to pass the ball. Faze at times loves to like drive forward with the ball, but when he loses it, he's out of position. So maybe it's not good to have both of them together who wants to drive the ball forward at times, because again, at one moment they both were up and it caused chaos and a goal. So maybe Oakley does come in. I would prefer him maybe to Vestergaard, but that's just me saying about the pace side of things. As much as probably Vestergaard and Faze out of the two, Vestergaard probably the better one out of the two games. But it is difficult because again, with the amount of restrictions in this tactically set up like formation, which obviously Ricardo can't get in, can Oakley get in? Because again, for me, he suits better than a three at the back. But we're not playing really three at the back unless it comes to the attacking position and one player goes off.
But we have a lot of wiggle room to change things around. Obviously, it's early days, but the situation we're in with a points deduction looming over us and potentially 2 different points deductions, we need to pick up the points as quickly and as much as possible. I think Fulham was a missed opportunity to at least get a point. Jake, we're going to move on a little bit to signings. Who do we need before the window ends? What positions do we need to fill in the next 4 days? Really, it's not long. We've been linked to Reedy. What's his name? Tell me his name.
The Greek guy.
Is that the attacking mid?
Oh yeah, I can tell you.
Bilal El Khanous.
We've been linked to him for around 30 million euros. That's what whoever he plays for. I'm not even going to try and pronounce her name. I'm great with that. Who do we need, Jake? Who needs to come in?
For me, there's positions we need, but for me, we need starters. I think we've made some signings this summer where, Bobby Reid has been starting, but for me,
I think a lot of fans probably would distree. He shouldn't be starting.
Well, that's what I mean. I don't necessarily think he's a starter, especially over Mavididi. I think Mavididi offers a bit more. Bobby Reid in the last 2 games, or his first 2 games, I don't think he's shown that much. Oakley, I know Reedy said he'd like to see him in there, but in pre-season, from the bits I saw, he didn't impress me too much.
I was only saying that for the price range. Again, if you're paying £15 million for a centre back, for me, it has to go in.
Yeah, but at the same time, how much do we sign Oakley for? 10-15 million pounds, and he's not getting into the. Well, he's not yet got into the starting.
Waste of money, I think. Because you look at the centre backs already had in the team. We didn't really.
I just think we need
one.
starters. Jordan Ayew again. He's probably not going to be starting, especially over the other players that are there. If he's going to be playing as a striker because we need him to, then Jamie Vardy, if fit, is going to get over him. If he goes on the wing, Mavididi and Bobby Reid probably get in over him. Maybe just Mavididi now.
Everyone we bought isn't a starter.
But we need starters.
We've added some good depth, I'd say, to the bench. We've definitely thickened up who we can bring on, but
I think Skip's the only starter, I would say.
I think Skip is probably the only starter that we've signed.
Buonanotte on loan.
But Buonanotte was a starter because there's no one else
there
really
is
to
no
play
one else.
there.
Yeah, we signed Golding Locks for 5 million, and is he going to feature this season? He's in the under-21s at the moment. No. Well, what was the point in signing him for 5 million?
That was shocking, honestly. I just had a hope that he was maybe going to be a bench, off the bench, but Cooper's clearly assessed him as well. Cooper's not even playing Alves. Braybrook's on his way out to Scotland, I think, Dundee. He's going to send Alves out on loan. This is a manager, by the way, who's meant to be big on youth, and he doesn't even think that our younger players are good enough or capable yet.
I think we know that. I think you look at the youth team coming up over the past 5 years. Who have we? We've had loads of players over the past years. Chilwell. Drewsbury has just gone, but we've had a lot of youth players come in and do something to the team. I think a lot of the youth players at the moment, like say Alves and that. We must have had about 3 or 4 different managers in the space that Alves and Sammy Braybrook have been in. That are they first team players, and clearly they don't think so.
I think Buonanotte is good enough to start as many games as he can for us this season, and I don't think we should be looking at this Bilal guy. I think it's risky. 30 when it was like 18, you can probably just about accept it. He's young, he's got a lot of he's got a high ceiling, but nearly £30 million, it just stinks of like a Samari or Daka signing again. And if he can come in and prove us, like with Cooper, like with Jordan Ayew, if they come in and prove us wrong, then sound. But I just don't think that's a priority. The priority is a striker. Buonanotte is good enough to start for us. He played loads of games for Brighton last year. And Alves, I know he might not be ready, fine, but I think he should be on the bench, rather than spending 30 million on another number 10.
It's interesting you say that, Locks, because we'll speak a little bit about Ndidi's positioning. At the end of Fulham's game, he was playing in the attacking mid role again. We've got these players. Clearly, Cooper doesn't think so, or whoever's making the sub changes, you'd assume it's Cooper. He thinks we don't have enough depth. Like you say, Alves isn't playing. We're pushing up Ndidi into that attacking mid role, which we know that he did okay last year in that position in Championship, but it's a different kettle of fish now in the Premier League. I see why we're going to have to sign a new attacking midfielder if that's who we think, but I guess really just the last point on Fulham before we do move on to some score predictions for Villa. What was Cooper's thought process going into those changes? Because I saw at the end of that last 20-30 minutes, I can ask all of you, that team that finished against Fulham, it was so out of position. There were so many players playing in different positions, and I just felt we don't need to do that. I felt we didn't need to have Ndidi up there. We could have played, like you said, Alves or Ayew in that position. We're pushing Mavididi on in positions he doesn't play. We've got Justin playing at centre back. What's really the thought? I think we're very disconnected at the moment, and it's remnants of the end of Rodgers' era when he got sacked. There is no plan, there is nothing in place to keep us up, and there's nothing there. What's your thoughts on it, really? I think it's a mess at the moment.
I think the substitutions are the weirdest ones. I said it at the end of the game. I think if the subs were made earlier, before they scored that goal, which again came not out of nowhere, because obviously Fulham were the dominant team majority of the game, but it felt like the moment Skip came on and the moment Mavididi came on, as well as Ayew, like I said before, it did feel a bit more solid. But then you'd say, Ndidi came into that attacking role and they brought Buonanotte off. I didn't get that at all. If you're bringing Skip on, take Ndidi off and keep Buonanotte in that attacking position. I know Jake said before we went live on here that Jake said that Buonanotte didn't have the best of games, which again I agree he didn't, but you'd rather have him in that role than bring someone forward. Yes, Ndidi might have done well in that role last year. It's the Premier League.
But you'd rather hungry Alves is going to be hungry. You'd rather him on the bench than even Samari. What's he offering?
I think the reason Ndidi was chosen over the youngsters is because
experience. Yeah.
Well, yeah, a bit of experience. I think it's a lot to ask someone like Will Alves or those youngster players to come in to play against Fulham away in the Premier League. I think it's a lot to ask, especially when you're 2-1 down. For me, I think the youngsters that we do have that have potential, like Alves and whatnot, they need to be sent on loan anyway to the Championship, because they're not even really youngsters anymore. They're not youth players as such anymore. A lot of them are like 20 plus years old.
It's like Casey McAteer, as much as he's done well for us the last couple of years.
If a player was going to do well, if one of our youth players was going to do well, they would be doing it by now. They're 20 years old and they're still young, but they should be sent off. If they're not going to get into our team, they need to be sent to a higher Championship level team, prove it there, get some experience, and then come back. Because they're doing nothing for us at the moment. If they're not going to get played, they're doing nothing for us, and they need to be sent out.
I get the thought of Ndidi, by the way, because we saw what he does well last season in the advanced state. I think Enzo called him like a box crasher. He gets in the box, and we saw against Spurs, he nearly scored the winner with his header, and he's got that aerial ability. So I get it. If you're putting crosses into the box, it's probably a good thing to have Ndidi in there. But I just still think I get what Jake's saying about they're not good enough yet, which is, probably true. But Will Alves, I keep saying him, everyone keeps talking about him. He's going to be hungry. I'd just rather him come on than play Ndidi out of position. And I just think that, they probably do need these loans, in the Championship or whatever, if they're not going to play for us. But if they can get minutes for us, if Alves can get minutes in the first team, even if it's just thrown on in the last 5-10 minutes to try and impact the game, I don't see it as a bad thing, but clearly Cooper doesn't think they're ready, so we just got to trust him, I suppose.
Yeah, I'll go around now. We'll speak about Villa, and we'll do some score predictions. We'll start with Locks, and we'll move on to Reedy and that. Locks, anything that you'd want to change for Villa? Any players you want to come in or out? And then the score predictions for it. It's going to be a very tough game.
I'm still going to say I want JJ in there. Just if we carry on playing the same way as we have been, I think I'd still prefer JJ at right centre back. Mavididi, I think, has to come in. I think in the Fulham game, you saw him, like, when the ball came to him and he didn't really take anyone on, you were like, I wish that was Mavididi that the ball had come to. So I want him in. And that's probably it. Maybe Cooper might throw Ayew in and surprise us, but I can't see it. In the number 10 now I'm on about, I know he can play out wide as well, but I think it'll be unchanged. But I need Mavididi in there because I just think he offers so much more than Cordova-Reid. Did you ask me for my score
prediction as well, Lodge? Yeah.
I'll say, like I said off camera, I think Forest fans told me that Cooper's normally quite good against Villa, so I'll say 1-1. 1-1.
Decent point take draw again.
Yeah.
I think it could be a cricket score against Villa. You never know because they're definitely very strong at the moment. Reedy, any changes? Any thoughts? Who would you play? I mean, I'll push it to you a little bit. Vardy was pretty much invisible against Fulham. Does he play again?
There?
I
think with the attack, he's always invisible majority of the time. Again, I'm not saying that we didn't deserve to get a point against Spurs, but again, it felt like it came out of nothing in a way. Like, don't get me wrong, we had momentum, but it came from a cross. That was an open goal, really. So, but yeah, changes wise, I kind of agree with Locks with the JJ side of things because of how we've set up and tactical wise. It has to be JJ. Ricardo can't play in that centre back role. Like, if we switched it round where Christensen was staying back and then it let Pereira go more forward, but then that meant Christensen would be in that centre back role. It wouldn't work. So that's why it is restricted to why Ricardo's not been playing.
Yeah.
Again, Bobby Reid has to come out for me. He comes inside too much. He's not a winger. He plays in. Again, I get the point. He goes into that more of attacking 8/10 role, but then we're left with no actual winger. It seems pointless to me to have no winger on that side. And then other than that, we'll have to say to take Ndidi out for skipping just because his passing's not there.
I forgot that one. Yeah, I agree. Skipping from Ndidi.
Yeah, I think as much as I wasn't a big fan of Skip, again, you can see Ndidi's passing is just not good enough for that role.
Yeah.
And then score prediction, again, I agree with Locks, but I'm going to say 2-2. I think a draw would be very, very towards
yeah. It's going to be a tough game. I'll give my thoughts before we move on to Jake. I disagree with both of you. I think I am going to put Pereira into my team, but I want to see a bit more of a traditional, I just want to see a bit more comfortability in the style. I don't want to see, I mean, this is me hoping, I don't want to see players, like say Cordova-Reid, who's always a left winger, but he's going to cut in, he's going to play 8. I don't want to see Justin, he's like, he is right back, but then he's going to zone or mark as a centre back if we need to. I don't like that style of football when we're not the better team. When we're the team we're going to be the team that's not good compared to most of the teams in the Premier League. For me, I would just say, have your traditional lineup. You've got your centre backs, you've got your strikers, you've got your midfielders, you've got your wingers. Hold that position throughout the whole of the game. And this Enzo style passing around the back, we've seen it a couple of times. I think it's a bit slow for us in the Premier League. I don't think it works massively. Obviously, you can see the transition where we're trying to get it up forward a bit quicker. I think this season, our best plan is to pass it to players like Winks, who holds the midfield, and then he can shift it off to the fast Mavididi and Fatawu, because I think Fatawu's strongest point last season was he could take on his players, and I've seen him do it a couple of times this season already in the first 2 games. I don't think he's been getting enough service to take on the man. I think he's been restricted again. So I think I just like to see a little bit more stability and a little bit more comfortability. And Diddy comes out as well for me.
But isn't what you're saying changing Cooper's system and the kind of Enzo's system as well? That's basically saying we're going going straight to a standard formation.
Yeah, but because I think we need it. We're not Man City. We're not good enough to be playing these Justin's your right back, but then he's also your centre back when he needs to be. And Bobby Reid, he's your left winger, but when he needs to be a attacking midfielder, he'll rotate, he'll use his instinct to do that. I just don't think it works for us. I think it worked last season for the most part because we had, the Man City-esque player style in a championship where we're playing teams like Rotherham, but we're the Rotherham of the Premier League now. We're not going to be able to compete trying to outplay teams. For me, we just need to do bullish football and just get it up there and put it in the box, and that's your best chance of getting goals. You know, it's hard to be creative especially when we're not signing creative players, and we're selling them instead of signing them. So for me, Skip comes in for Ndidi, Pereira in for right back. Mavididi, I think, has got to come in as well. I think Decore Reed looks okay, but you know, I think as a rotation player, if we're winning or drawing, to keep the game cool, just like the last 30 minutes when Mavididi's burnt out, need someone on that left wing to challenge those defenders a bit more. Vardy starts as well. Hopefully, he gets a bit more service than he did against Fulham. I'm going to say, realistically, I think we're going to lose. Personally, I think Villa's the toughest one, but I'm going to say 1-1. Like Larks, hopefully, I'm just hoping that confidence, you know, at home. I don't know. Hopefully, it's going to be loud enough again where the players can get booming. I don't want to see this respect too much. I want to see inside the first 60 seconds a crunching tackle to, you know, push Villa down and really put them in their place. Because again, we've shown both teams, Spurs and Fulham, way too much respect to giving them way too much time on the ball.
I said this. I want us to be disgusting. Like, I want us to be horrible. You know what I mean? Like,
We
I want
need
us
to be.
just, yeah.
But then Locke said before, early on the show, that we have been close to both teams. Again, we got a point and we lost just by 1 goal.
I'm Fulham are a good team.
It's not like we're getting slaughtered by anyone.
No,
we're showing that we can compete in a way, as much as we're not going attacking.
I think the issue with this season, and a lot of fans' frustration will be, we know we need points.
Yeah.
Where a draw against Spurs, fantastic result. Losing 2-1 to Fulham, I think on a normal day you'd say, okay, that's a fair result. And after the match you look at it and say, yeah, that was probably fair enough. But I think when you look at their mannerisms, I didn't think Fulham were anything amazing on the day. I thought we could have got a point. I felt like that second goal really came down to a defensive error from Justin.
It could have been a draw.
I felt if he just man marks the player that was running, I think it was Iwobi, if I'm not mistaken. If he just man marked him and got the ball off him, I think it would have finished 1-1. So I think it's a bit disappointing that if realistically both goals probably came from player individuality errors rather than a whole tactic. So again, I could see why it wouldn't change too much, but I think we probably would all agree Skip would be the one for Ndidi to come in as the main. That's 100% who we think should come in. Jake, what do you make? What's your changes? Are you in the same kind of boat as us?
Yeah, I think all the changes you said are the ones I would also agree with. I think defensively, I think we just need to look at who we're playing against to decide who we want to put in defence, because against Spurs, I thought Faze and Vestergaard as a centre-back pairing, they looked pretty solid, but Spurs were playing more out the wing and crossing the ball in, and I think when it comes down to headers, Faze and Vestergaard aren't too bad at getting rid of those. But against Fulham, they were playing a lot more through the middle or on the edge of the box. And I think when Fulham were passing it around us, Faze and Vestergaard looked a bit lost and out of position because of that. So I think it depends how Villa play. If they do play a bit more out the wing, or if they go in the middle, I think that changes the centre-back pairing. As much as I don't like Samari, and I'm not even gonna say Samari because I don't think he's a good player. But I think I would like to see us sign a bit more, like a nicer box-to-box